All right, Patrick Flynn is in the co-host chair, and we welcome Rob Carlin back to the show. Rob, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Very good. Rob, last time we talked, the season was ending, and you were moving on to new math. Have you mastered new math yet, Rob?
I don't know. I don't know that I really ever mastered the old math. So the new math has still got me a little bit crazy, but you know, you learn something new every day, I suppose.
I think we hope so, at least.
Right.
Uh, Rob, I got a bunch of people that follow the podcast for football. We have moved now into basketball and hockey season. A lot of those guys are interested and gals in hockey. And so we have started like a hockey for dummies. Last week, we talked a little bit about how the lines are set up and how they rotate. Today, I was hoping we could get into a little bit about defense and how it's played with the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different styles that come into play, and as you can see with the old Barry Trotz system, and certainly what he's doing more so with the Islanders. But when they went on that Cup run with the Caps in 2018, he was so protective of their own zone. I mean, it all changed in early April when they went into that sort of 1-3-1 um, defense and just kind of clogged up that, wouldn't let teams in the zone. Peter Laviolette plays a different type of system. He wants his defensemen activating. He wants them pushing forward. In fact, the game last night against the Islanders, the winning goal was Justin Schultz, who's got 4 points in his last two games, and it works right into his wheelhouse of what he's good at. He wants him activating and moving forward. Laviolette wants quantity of shots. Barry Trotz wanted quality of shots. It's just a totally different mindset that Laviolette's had a lot of success with over the years. You think back to some of the talented defensemen he's coached over his career, you could see where if you find that right system. And Justin Schultz was really good, then went through a bunch of injuries and down years in Pittsburgh. And when they signed him, I hope there's gas left in the tank. And it sure seems like a guy like Schultz playing in this system is finding new life because he's being told what you're good at, do more of that. And they've been very careful to kind of pair defensemen where they want sort of one offensive minded defenseman and one more stay at home defensive guy. And that's being allowed to play to each person's strengths. And I think that's a huge sign of coaching is realizing and look, it is not knocking Barry Trotz at all. He won the cup. But I always remember Barry Trotz's moment the first year he was coaching, and he got to camp a little bit late because he was coaching at the World Cup. So when he got to camp, he was introducing himself to some players, and we had him mic'd up one day, and he went up to Brett Connolly, and he said, "What do you do well? What's your strong suit?" Connolly's like, "Well, my shot's always been the thing I've been known for." And he said, "Well, great. Let's work. I'm going to let you shoot. I want you doing that, and we'll work on the other stuff. But don't hesitate to do what you do best." And I thought, man, that's just great coaching. Going to a guy and saying, "I'm going to make you as great as you can possibly be." That's such a big part of all of it.
And so have they focused on being more aggressive defensively or
For
just a
sure.
little stickier? How do you see that?
No, for sure. They want defensemen uh, passing the puck to one another, bringing the offense into the offensive zone. They want to play a smart game, but a very aggressive game. And they're still learning. This is where they're at a huge disadvantage, even though they've got Ovi and Koozie and Backstrom and Wilson and now Zdeno Chara and all these like grizzled veterans of the game. They have to untrain themselves from the last 6 years because Todd Reardon was more of what Barry Trotz wanted. So again, that goes to the quality of shot over the quantity of shots. And now Laviolette wants a much more push forward type of offense, and he wants his defensemen just throwing pucks at net. So where for 6 years they were sort of trained to do one thing, they now have to learn another way to play the game. And look, they're 4-0-3. It's only the second time in their team's history that they've gotten at least a point in each of their first 7 games. So has it been perfect? No, they're still learning the system, and they had to deal with all the COVID suspensions and now a couple of injuries, but they keep finding ways to get points. And in a division that's going to be so tight, top to bottom, every point's going to be incredibly important.
Hey, Rob, you had mentioned that they're off to the best start in their first 7 games in franchise history. What would you grade-wise give Laviolette so far? I know it's early. We're not even a quarter of the way in. How would you grade him out over the first 7 games? Because they seem to get off to really fast starts, like in the Penguins game, and they're up, 4-2, 3-1. Then they hit the skids a little bit in the second period. What do you make of that so far?
It feels like a lot of the Caps teams over the last couple of years, man.
Right.
It's amazing to me to have that much talent up and down the lineup, yet there are games where they just go up and down, and the second period has been an issue. And I wish I had an explanation for it. When I used to do the shows with Alan May, I would always ask him that. Alan's going to point to this and point to that and try and explain away because he comes from the player and coach point of view. So we often get into it because I'd be like, no, I get all that, but why do they dip in and out of, they shouldn't be, and I don't want to say they're uninterested, but they shouldn't go through those waves during games. So if you're asking for a grade on Laviolette, he's got points. So I'm going to give him a B+ right now. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that they're still learning with no exhibition and such a short camp. They're still learning what's expected of them. And, I love the fact that he gave Connor McMichael a chance to play in a game. I love the fact that now he's dealing with Ovi, Koozie, and Orlov out of the lineup, but I love the fact that he, put Sprong in there and gave him a chance, called up Michael Scarbosa, gave him a chance. Daniel Carr got his first start and got a point on the Sprong goal. So he's giving guys, he's sort of rewarding guys and giving them opportunities, albeit because of suspensions. But I think so far he's been pushing a lot of the right buttons.
Do you?
Rob, if we set Obi to
go
the
ahead,
side, sure, no problem. If we set Obi to the side, if this team gets to where they want to go, who's got to be that next guy to really push them forward?
The obvious answer is going to be Koozie, because 2018 playoff Koozie was so incredible and so much fun to watch. So I don't know that we'll ever see that again unless they get to that height again. If they get deep into the playoffs, I think you might see that guy come through again. But I think he is who he is at this point in his career. He's a guy with dazzling abilities who, as I was saying before, just dips in and out of games. I think he does get bored during the regular season. And, that's a huge problem, but I think that's who he is. And as much as I love him and when he's on and he's humming, I mean, he's incredibly fun to watch. So Ovi, Backstrom, Tom Wilson, what you're going to get every single shift from him. And his shifts are so incredibly game changing that I feel like he's almost a bigger loss than Ovi right now, because there's probably been 3 or 4 goals this season alone where his forecheck led immediately to a turnover into a goal. And that doesn't go in any stat sheet anywhere. No one gave him an assist on that, but the Caps don't score without Tom Wilson scaring the hell out of anyone on the ice. So, but Wilson gives you that every single time. Koozie's got to be special for the Caps to get back to where they were in 2018.
Speaking of guys who scare the hell out of everybody on the ice, we obviously have Chara. He's the talk of the town. It's how weird it is to see him in a Caps uniform. What do you think that he brings other than just grizzled veteran experience? What type of play does he bring? And is he more of a stay-at-home kind of guy versus a guy that's going to push the pace up the ice? What do you see from Chara so far that you like and what he brings to the table?
First off, I'm with you, man. It is so freaking weird to see him in the Caps uniform. Every time I look out there and he's on the ice, I'm like, that's right, Zdeno Chara's on the Caps. He's so ingrained in the black and gold of the Bruins that it's almost hard to see him in the Caps uniform. But I think what he is Brooks Orpik, but a Hall of Famer. He just gives that leadership where guys look at him and go, look at the shape he's in. Look at how hard he's working. Look at what he does on and off the ice. How can I not give everything I've got when that guy at, 43 years old is doing what he's doing? So he's certainly more of a stay-home defenseman, but with that shot, you never know when it's going to create something. And that, again, plays into what Laviolette wants. He wants guys just firing the pucks on net. And we've seen that a couple of times already this year from Chara. So I think more than anything, he's a leader in a room full of leaders. He's a leader, and he's a guy who's going to be on the ice at the end of games. And the other team's going to know when he's on the ice at the end of games.
At 6'9", he's hard to miss, right?
He's impossible to miss, and he's 6'9", and he's not afraid to use every inch of it. So, guys are going to get dumped on their butts in front of whoever the goaltender is, and that's a goalie's best friend, is knowing that, in those moments, the area right in front of the goalie is going to be cleared out by one of the all-time greats in clearing out that space.
Rob, you mentioned there the goalies. I know that the plan kind of was to use more goalies this year because the games were condensed. How have you seen the young kids so far?
Well, it's funny because everyone would have said, and I thought you were going to say the plan was to go with Ilya Samsonov as sort of the starter, and Vitek Vanacek will be the spot guy. So if there was 56 games, maybe, Vanacek or Samsonov is starting 35 of them and 21 for Vanacek. But Vitek's been really good. I mean, it's hard not to be impressed by what he's doing. And so, there's always sort of what's the thought of the fans and the media, and what's the thought of this brand new coaching staff. And Laviolette, to his credit, has been very clear since he first got here that this is an open competition, because he doesn't know Samsonov from last year, and Samsonov only has a small book to go by. So all exhibition or preseason long, he kept saying, we're going to go with the hot hand. And the way Vanacek's playing, Samsonov's going to have to play well to earn his spot. And that's not to say that he's not good. He's still an elite talent, and he probably will earn that starting job. I'm just saying that Vanacek has been really impressive, and that's going to make the coaching staff say, he's the better goalie right now. I have no problem going the better guy. They're going to put the best guy on the ice to give him a chance to win on any given night.
It's interesting with Vanacek too. I didn't realize this. We had Stephen Wino last week, and he was saying it's surprising with Vanek because he's toiled around in the minors for a long time. And usually if you've got it, they see it, and it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, but sometimes it just takes a little while for a guy to kind of look. He had to sit behind some guys there too. So very quietly, he put together back-to-back All-Star games. He was a really good player at Hershey, and he just came into his own a little bit later. So, and look, no one's saying that it's Carey Price out on the ice. Like, we're not saying they've got the best goalie in the game. We're just saying that Vanacek certainly looks like he belongs at this level. So, again, open competition is good. It's going to make Samsonov have to be that much better to earn his playing time. And it's going to make them both better, that they're going to be fighting over that spot and fighting over playing time. And there was definitely a feeling of, I don't know, this is a team that wants to win a Stanley Cup. They got two kids in there. And I don't know that we've seen enough yet to feel comfortable on a deep playoff run with these two, but certainly you feel comfortable right now on a night in, night out basis that if and when that time comes, their experience this year is going to help them when they get to that spot. So I think they've both been, certainly Vanacek has been better than we thought he would be. And that's a great sign for the Caps long-term.
Yeah, I agree. Doug and I always talk about, just because we're NFL guys, pleasant surprises in the draft when you get, a Terry McLaurin in the second round and he turns out to be a stud. And I think Vanacek's definitely been a pleasant surprise. Vrana's off to a really good start. Do you see Vrana as somebody that could upseat Koozie and be that guy that, gives him that goal scoring ability down the stretch?
Yeah, I think he's shown like he's going to be a 30 to 35 goal scorer in this league. And the only problem I have with Vrana is he's so streaky. And sometimes you see goal scorers are like that. When they get going, they're going to pump in a bunch of goals. And then, especially for him, I think he's still learning that maturity factor, where, if he's not scoring, he's going through one of those stretches, maybe he doesn't fight as hard for a puck along the boards, a little thing that, maybe every fan doesn't pay attention to, but certainly the coaches do and your teammates do. Maybe he's not going to go into the corners with quite as much jump, to go win a puck in those moments when he's not on. When he's on, he's great. And I'm a huge fan of Jacob Vrana, and I love his work ethic. He's always the last one out on the ice, always taking shots. He'll be out there with a bucket of pucks forever after a practice when everyone's long gone and Ovi's probably dressed and out the door already, and Vrana's still taking shots. So I respect that. I certainly am rooting for a kid like that to get an opportunity to carry the team for a little bit. And I think he's shown flashes where maybe he could be that guy.
Rob, you mentioned that Laviolette's played the kids a bunch. Do you think that's because the team is aging? You
That's
think
the
he
suspensions.
realizes that?
It's the suspensions. Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, they're without Ovi, Koozie, and Orlov. So they had, and then Tom Wilson gets hurt. And then last night, Eller gets hurt and Backstrom gets hurt. So, believe me, he's doing this because he has to. This is not like, you know what? I'm going to give Ovi a night off and let's call Michael Scarbosa back up and get him in the lineup and see what he could do. This is, they got hit with, I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw Ovi's wife on social media when she was like,
we did.
Yeah. So wait, they could be on the ice together. They can hug each other after a goal. They could fight in the corner, sweat's going everywhere, but they can sit on the bench right next to each other. But in the hotel room, that's where we're drawing the line. And I kind of side with her on that one, but whatever, the rules are the rules. That you're supposed to follow the rules. They got caught. But yeah, he's playing these kids because he has to. But, how often over the years have you seen the Penguins call up these kids throughout a season and they come in, they contribute like Carr did with Sprong last night, scoring the goal. And then all of a sudden something crazy happens in the playoffs and one of those kids has to go in and play the game. And now all of a sudden the light's not shining too bright because they got some call-ups during the season. So the Caps for so long, there have been no positions up for debate. Sure, they might juggle the lines a little bit, but no one's getting in the lineup. They have their team ready to go. So no one's ever getting chances. So while the injuries suck and the suspensions suck, it is nice to see these kids get some playing time, produce, get praised by the coach, because I have a feeling somewhere down the line, one or two or three of these kids are going to be called upon and have to do something in a big moment. And it's times like this, it's going to help them in those big moments.
I agree. Do you, as depleted as you just mentioned, Backstrom, with the cut to his face, and Lars Eller went out last night. It just seems like they're just dropping left and right. What crazy upside do you see to this team when everybody's back and they're running, full capacity, full tilt, barring any injury? They're in first place right now. And that's without, their big stars. What do you?
It's weird. It's weird because normally you'd be like, you know what? Maybe over the course of a long season, it's good for Ovi and Koozie to kind of get a little break. But this is so, they've been off for so long that I have no idea how this is going to affect them. Normally, I would say, like the Incredible Hulk, you don't want to make Ovi mad. Like Ovi could come back and be on a tear when he gets back from this. It would not surprise me at all. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not looking at the upside of when they come back and where they are. I'm looking at what they're doing without these guys and the opportunities that it's affording other players to get in there and to contribute and to learn and to grow. And like I said, I think at some point, remember that 2018 run and Nathan Walker getting a chance, in Pittsburgh in Game 6, like that. They're going to need moments like that. And I think hopefully getting this time early in the season and throughout a season, because I have a feeling they're going to deal with a lot of these things. Games are so tight on top of each other. You don't have time. Eller clearly got dinged. He doesn't have time because there's another game tomorrow, another game right after that. So you're going to have to sit him for a couple of days. Okay, well, that gives a chance for another kid to get into the lineup.
Rob, I know you have a new project that you've been a part of that you're really proud of. I hope you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So, obviously I got unceremoniously dumped from my position with NBC Sports Washington. And kind of looking for my next adventure. I don't know if broadcasting is going to be in my future. So I'm part of a company now called Scorebreak. And I don't know if you guys are familiar. I think, Doug, you said you're familiar with Huddle, HUDL. So it's a video stats analytics based program that I say it's Huddle on steroids, because you're getting everything instantaneously. With Huddle, you have to film your game, then send it off to Huddle, and you get it back 24 hours later, and they've statted it for you. And from what I understand, it's 75% right, but there's 25% mistakes that they've been made along the way. Our system, you're actually keeping the stats live during the game, and you could take your iPad off the tripod that's been shooting the game, hand it to a coach, and he's got a fully statted analytics already there, highlights ready to go. We've got this thing called an airborne system. So if you're on the sidelines, like in lacrosse, and we've got like 60% of D1 men's lacrosse, you could watch the last play right on your iPad, because it's streaming live from one iPad to another. So it's some really exciting technology. And we just signed DeMatha basketball and Paul VI basketball. We've talked to a lot of, big programs that are in Huddle contracts now that said, got to get out of it, and then let's talk again in the summertime. So, it's one of those things where I talk about, it's a buddy of mine that I know who's the COO of the company. And we both got in at around the same time. And I said to him, I was like, man, this feels like one of those great things that you hear about from someone else, and you go, man, I wish I was lucky enough to be there for that. This just has that feel of, this could be big. I will just say this, and this is how I go to sleep at night, and I am able to close my eyes and not think about everything going on in my life. There was another piece of technology that came along that just did basketball. That was the whole deal. And Huddle saw that they were making their move, so Huddle bought them out for $85 million. They just do basketball. So I am going to hold on for dear life to Scorebreak and see where this takes us. But yeah, I appreciate you letting me just kind of mention it out there. So if you got a kid that's coming up in a sport, hopefully instead of sending out your Huddle highlights soon enough, you'll be doing it through Scorebreak.
That's awesome.
Rob, you're the best. We appreciate your time today.
Yeah, man. It's always fun to talk with you guys.
Thanks
Take
a lot,
care.
Rob. Yeah, it was, hope we do it again soon.
Cool, guys.
Thanks, Rob. See you.
Yep. Take care.